I am myself sometimes amazed at how something so old can be so relevant. And I don't know how they did it, but I guess that my guess is that the human issues that are being discussed there are just as relevant today as they were at the time. You are talking about human beings struggling within themselves, struggling between our selfishness and our desires and our needs to be seen and be have our desires met, be respected by others, being loved by others, being whatever valued by others, and then our deepest, most innermost connections of what we believe is right and true and what deserves our energy and our discipline. And I think especially nowadays when we live in a time of ease, and ease has become a virtue. You know, if something is easy, it's by definition good. And the Gita is one of those texts that reminds you that no, it's not like that at all. That some easy things actually take us away from where we want to go. They seem easy in the beginning, but in the long run, they are actually making us go back. It's a dialogue between you could say a teacher and a student, or you could say between, you know, the little angel and the little demon on your shoulder, between the best in you, the most noble. Yoga departs from the point of view that everybody has a core of goodness. Everybody. It might be very much covered, it might be a little bit covered, and it can be uncovered. How yoga is the process of uncovering that goodness and that divinity that everybody carries in them. So you can also say that it's the dialogue between the obscure part of you, the part of you that worries about your next meal and your money and your desires and your physicality and your looks and the others and how you compete with others, this part kind of animalistic mind that we have, and that original goodness that we carry too. And there is a dialogue there between what path should I choose, and how do I choose the right path, and what are the consequences of, and what are the characteristics. So it kind of gives you a map. It goes deep within these issues. Have been so many moments in my life that have been so hard. And it's funny, the moments when things get hard is when you forget everything you should be remembering. And I think works like the guitar, like this huge beacon, you know, remember who you are, remember where you want to go, remember that most of what you are so worried about is literally irrelevant, and that what you are forgetting is the big issue here. And it's like a bomb in your heart every day, every time. I think I've read it, I don't know, dozens of times, but every time it's like, oh yeah. I am reading for the second time. Yogananda has two huge volumes on the Gita. It's with his commentary from his teachers, from his, you know, the school he comes from, the tradition he comes from. They have a very special interpretation of what the Gita, and the Gita is of course a work within the Mahabharata, which is a much bigger work around it. So he has a very clear, for him the Gita is an allegory to all kinds of other things that are happening inside of us. The characters of the books are allegory for things in us, aspects of us. And I am reading this I'm finishing. It's like a 1200, two big volumes, and I'm finishing it this week for the second time. And I am slowly putting the course together in my head. And it's a it's hard because I love it so much that it kind of gets in the way. You just want so much to pass it on and so much to share those insights, because I am not saying that. I really believe it, that it can make a huge difference in our lives. So the course is going to be a mix of understanding the story, because the story is important, understanding the allegory, what the story represents, and also understanding the whole basic of yoga philosophy, you know, and how yoga divides the mind, the aspects of the mind, and how we can, the things that we can develop. Again, those are intellectual concepts if it's just words, but they come together with an introspective practice of yoga, of meditation, and of asana that makes those concepts come alive. So that's a kind of a small ambition that I have in 1 week, to bring the story alive, to bring the allegory of what the story represents alive, but also to generate an experience of how these concepts are fundamental and relevant for a good life. It's not an intellectual work. It's not a work that you learn. Oh, okay, if you do that, it's it touches your heart. It's about the heart. I love it.